Hello students, welcome to the third part of our lesson whole numbers. In our previous videos we have learned about whole numbers and the properties of addition and subtraction of whole numbers. In this video we are going to learn about the multiplication of whole numbers. So let's see what we are going to study in this session. So in this video we are going to learn the properties of multiplication of whole numbers and the application of these properties in solving different problems, and then it would be followed by the exercise. Properties of multiplication of whole numbers. So the first property is the closure property. It says for any two whole numbers a and b, the product a and b is always a whole number. Now what does it mean? It means that if we multiply any two whole numbers, the product will always be a whole number. So let's see it with few examples. Say here I have taken two whole numbers 3 and 5. So if I multiply them, their product is 15, which is again a whole number. Similarly, if I multiply 2 and 10, then the product is 20, which is again a whole number. So if you multiply any two whole numbers, the product is a whole number only. Now the next property is the commutative property of multiplication. Just like addition, multiplication is also commutative for whole numbers. Now it says for any two whole numbers a and b, the product a multiplied by b is equal to b multiplied by a. That means changing the order of two whole numbers does not change the product. The product remains same irrespective of the order of the two whole numbers. So let's see it with the help of an example. Say here I have taken two whole numbers 7 and 2. So if I write 2 multiplied by 7 or I write 7 multiplied by 2, the product is going to be 14 only. So in both the cases the product remains same, it doesn't change. So this is known as the commutative property of multiplication. Now let's continue with these properties of multiplication. The third property is the associative property of multiplication. It says for any three whole numbers a, b and c, the product of a multiplied by b and then multiplied to c is same as the product a multiplied by the product of b and c. Now let's understand it with the help of an example so that the things would be clear to you. So here in this example I have taken a as 5, b is 2 and c is 3. So now if I first multiply 5 and 2, now this bracket says that we should first perform this operation which is given in the bracket. So first we multiply 5 and 2 and then I multiply the product by 3. And here on the other side I first multiply 2 and 3 and then multiply this product with 5. So now let's see what would happen. So if I multiply 5 and 2, the product is 10. Then it is multiplied to 3. Here 2 multiplied by 3 gives me 6. So on the other side I have 5 multiplied by 6. Now 10 into 3 is equals to 30 Similarly, 5 into 6 is also 30. So irrespective of the grouping of three numbers, the product remains same. So this is what associative property of multiplication says, that the product doesn't change even if we change the grouping of the numbers. Now the next property is multiplicative identity. Multiplicative identity says the product of any whole number and 1 is the whole number itself. That means if we multiply any whole number to 1, the product is going to be that number itself. So for any whole number a multiplied by 1 or 1 multiplied by a is equals to a only. So let's see it with the help of an example. So here if I take a as 7, then 7 multiplied by 1 or 1 multiplied by 7 is equals to 7 only. So that's why the number 1 is called the multiplicative identity of the whole numbers. Now the next property of multiplication is the distributive property of multiplication. Distributive property of multiplication says for any three whole numbers a, b and c, the product of a and the sum of b plus c is equals to a multiplied by b plus a multiplied by c. So this means that the multiplication is distributed over addition. If I have to multiply one number to the sum of two numbers, then it is same as that number multiplied to the two other numbers individually and then added. Now let's understand this with the help of an example. In this example, I have taken a as 12, b is 7 and c is equals to 3. So now if I consider this side, then I can write 12 multiplied by 7 plus 3. So since here we have a bracket, first solve this bracket. 7 plus 3 gives me 10. So this becomes 12 multiplied by 10, which is equals to 120. Now if I consider the other side, then I will write it as 12 multiplied by 7 plus 12 multiplied by 3. Now 12 into 7 is equals to 84 and 12 threes are 36. So 84 plus 36 gives me 120. So in both the cases the answer is same. So we can say 12 into 7 plus 3 is equals to 12 into 7 plus 12 into 3, or I can say the multiplication is distributed. So this distributive property of multiplication is very helpful in solving complex multiplication problems. We will see this in the next slides. Now the next property is the multiplicative property of 0. This says the product of any whole number and 0 is always 0. That means if I multiply any whole number to 0, the answer is going to be 0 only. So for any whole number a multiplied by 0 is equals to 0 multiplied by a, and finally it's going to be 0 only. So let's see with the help of an example. 11 multiplied by 0 is same as 0 multiplied by 11, and the answer is 0 only. So this is the multiplicative property of 0. Now let's see the application of the properties of multiplication. Now in the first example, we have to find the product using suitable rearrangement. So we have to find the product of 30,921 multiplied by 25 multiplied by 40 multiplied by 2. So here we are going to use the associative property of multiplication, which says that grouping of two or more number doesn't change the product. So here we will multiply it in such a way that the multiplication becomes easy. Now here what I am going to do, I am writing the numbers in a different order. So I am grouping 30,921 and 2. So first find the product of 30921 and 2 and group 25 and 40. So 25 multiplied by 40. Now if I multiply this, multiplying by 2 is easy. So we can multiply it easily. The product will be 61,842. Now if I multiply 25 by 40, the product is 1000. You must be remembering that 25 fours are 100 and put one more zero after it. So 25 into 40 gives me 1000. That's why I have made this group, so that I would get 1000 here, and this will make my calculations easy. So now simply multiply by 1000, we have to simply put 3 zeros at the end of the number. So the answer is 61842000. So in this way, proper arrangement helps us to find complex multiplications. Now let's see one example of the application of distributive property. Now in this question, find the value of the following using distributive property. 649 multiplied by 8 plus 649 multiplied by 2. So here we have to use the distributive property. In the previous slides we have seen in distributive property, if there is one number common, then I can write it in this way. Here the problem given is in the form a multiplied by b plus a multiplied by c, and it can be written as a multiplied by the product, the sum of b and c. So here 649 is common, so I write 649 outside. 649 into 8. Now here we have plus sign, so write the plus sign here. 8 plus 2. So in this way we are using the distributive property. Now 8 plus 2 gives me 10. So 649 multiplied by 10, the answer is 6490. So in this way the multiplication becomes very easy if we use distributive property. Otherwise, if you will multiply 649 by 8 and 649 by 2 and then add the two products, then it would take a lot of time. But by using the distributive property, the calculation becomes very easy. Let's see one more example of distributive property. Now in this example, we are going to understand the distributive property over subtraction. Just as the multiplication is distributed over addition, it is distributed over subtraction too, and it helps us for calculating complex problems. Now here I have taken an example. Find the product of following using distributive property. 998 multiplied by 57. Now here the number 998 can be written as 1000 minus 2. So here I have written 998 as 1000 minus 2. Now it is of the form A multiplied by B minus C. Here A is 57, B is 1000 and C is 2. So I can write it as A multiplied by B minus A multiplied by C using the distributive property over subtraction. So in our previous example we have seen the plus sign here. So plus sign is replaced by minus sign. Now let's solve this. If I write it in this way, A is 57 multiplied by B. So 1000 multiplied by 57. Now this minus sign is here. So we put a minus sign here in between the two brackets. And the next number is 2. So 2 multiplied by 57. Now 57 multiplied by 1000 gives me 57,000. 57 into 2 is 114. So now simply subtract, which will give me 56,886 as the answer. Now this calculation is very easy as compared to this multiplication. If I multiply 998 by 57, it will take much time as compared to this method in which we use the distributive property. So if any number can be written in this way, either in the form of addition or subtraction, then we can find the products easily using distributive property. So students, I hope you have understood various properties of multiplication of whole numbers. And now you would be able to solve this exercise. That's all for today's session. Thank you, children.